name is Sarah Patterson, and I'm presenting Louisiana Nurse Licensure Compact. To practice nursing as a registered nurse is the goal of every nursing student, a goal achieved through study, clinical practice, and successful completion of the NCLEX RN exam. Nursing registry can be dated back to the 1800s, where Florence Nightingale started a tradition of maintaining a registry of all graduates. This registry provided institutions as well as patients with a system of identifying graduates of a particular nursing program. These lists proclaim to all the skills and knowledge of those graduates. These nurses could then be distinguished from lay practitioners and local citizens who provided care to the ill and infirm. Today, nursing programs around the world continue the tradition started by Nightingale and maintain registries or listings of all of their graduates. But only having a simple registry of graduates became no longer sufficient to ensure competency, and that competency was being provided appropriately. Another system was needed to be able to distinguish even more those who were trained to provide care and those who were not trained. Graduate nurses, physicians, and hospitals met to resolve this confusion. The outcome was criteria for the licensure of nurses in the United States. Then and now, the primary purpose of licensure was protection of the public. In the 1800s, hospitals established training programs to prepare nursing staff for their own institutions. These programs varied with the needs of the hospital, availability of physicians, and the resources devoted to training. It became apparent to many nurses that consistent minimum standards to practice across settings were necessary. These standards would provide for safety of the public and improve the mobility of nurses among institutions. A key advocate for these standards would later become known as the American Nurses Association. Each state develops rules and regulations to govern the practice of nursing within that state. These rules are in the Nurse Practice Act or in its accompanying rules and regulations to administer the act. Each act begins with a purpose. In each state or jurisdictional Nurse Practice Act, the practice of professional nursing is defined. The definition of nursing is of utmost importance because it delineates the scope of practice for nurses within the jurisdiction. Each state or jurisdiction establishes laws regulating practice within its borders. Therefore, it's imperative for the nurse to know and understand the definition of nursing in those states that he or she practices. A major event in licensure was in 1982 with the development of the first NCLEX RN exam. Once one finished a nursing program, he or she was then able to sit for this licensure exam. Upon successful completion, he or she was then granted a license to practice as a registered nurse. In the past, it was customary for a nurse to practice in only one state or territory, which was deemed her home state. If a nurse wanted to travel to another state and perform nursing duties, he or she would have to go through rigorous procedure, testing, and pay fines to be able to become licensed. In 2015, the National Council of State Board of Nursing proposed a modern-day licensure solution with the enhancement of the Nurse Licensure Compact. The basic principle of the enhanced NLC would allow registered nurses and licensed practical vocational nurses to have single multi-state licenses, which gives them the ability to practice nursing in both their home state and in other enrolled NLC states. This meant that this new licensure would help to facilitate mobility across state lines. No more long waits to get your license in that new state. This would also eliminate the enormous amount of fees that nurses are required to pay to gain licensure in another state. This helped to integrate quality improvement to better provide quality patient care. Quality improvement can be linked to the CUSN core competencies and also in the essentials of baccalaureate education for professional nursing. Safety, leadership, and quality improvement are critical to high quality patient care.